Yes, lads, I'm back with another video, and obviously it's been a wee while. I've been away, I've been doing bollock all, if I'm being completely honest, but I thought today, seeing as the Premier League is wrapped up, I'd go through some of my predictions, which was obviously my best video, views-wise, that I ever did. And so on the left will be my table, on the right will be the actual table. So in 20th, I had Bournemouth. Obviously, I got a lot of abuse for this, which I might make a separate video, and I got that much abuse. But they were terrible this season. They finished 18th, obviously coming down to the Championship. And to be fair, Bournemouth fans, I look forward to putting 3 past you at your place next season. They underperform with the players they have. Obviously, they can bounce back if they keep a lot of the players. You know, Ake, Wilson. You can do it if you keep your players. Obviously, Ake is supposed to be off to City, though. In 19th, I had Brighton, who obviously started very well. I think the start of the season went well for Brighton. They did put a few good performances together. But they sort of fell into sort of where everyone expected them to be, which was a sort of relegation to mid-table sort of team. The start to 2020 was one of the worst starts, I think, in history. I think the only one against Arsenal after the restart was the first win of the year, which was terrible. But I reckon they'll be, depending on the transfer window, they'll be all right next season, I think. In 18th, I had Norwich, who were the worst team in the league, obviously coming last by a mile. They had the worst transfer window, and they played some pretty poor football at times. I'm really glad you came down, if I'm being honest, Norwich. In 17th, I had a team which everyone else predicted to be relegation or thereabouts, was Sheffield United. Obviously, they came 9th. A great season, performed better than anyone could have ever expected from them. Chris Wilder makes that team look like they can play football, where, seeing as 3 of them used to play at Forest, I'm not sure they actually can. Obviously Ben Osborne being there, future Ballon d'Or winner, if you know, you know, sort of. But yeah, they got a very strong team, and a few transfers, of the right transfers, obviously, will help them. But they've got to sign players that fit the system. You can't sign players because they're available. I think Wilder will do well with that, though, to be fair, and the recruitment team at Sheffield United. But they've got to sign players that fit that system. In 16th, I had Southampton, who came 11th. I did enjoy seeing them get absolutely smashed around the grass by Leicester, which was very nice. Obviously being battered senseless to recover that well. Obviously Danny Ings was unreal this season. House O'Neill did a good job to recover and sort of not to lose the dressing room or lose the fans, especially after that 9-0 demolition. In 15th, I had Burnley, who came 10th. Brexit football's turned out to work. I think the signings are going to be interesting this season, because there are questions of whether they're starting to move away from Daesh and Brexit football, but I think they give it until it starts to properly fall off for them. It's just hard to find signings, especially from different countries, that fit the style of Brexit football, seeing as it is Brexit football. But I think it'd be interesting to see what they do in the window. And obviously, I will make an updated predictions for next season when playoffs and all that are sorted out. Fuck the playoffs. Didn't want to be in them anyway. In 14th, I had Newcastle, who came 13th, so I was only one off. Joe Linton was probably the worst signing I've ever seen anybody make. But players like Almiron and St Maximin showed flashes of how good that team can be, with a few signings. And they have, I'd say, probably the best goalkeeper outside the top 4 or the top 7. I think other than Nick Pope, I don't think there's many keepers better than him in the league. In 13th, I had Villa, who were 17th, and I was looking forward to going Villa away because it's a ground I've never been to. But unfortunately, I won't get that opportunity because goal line technology decided it didn't want to work for a game. But the recruitment was terrible this year. It was the same as, well, it showed shades of when Fulham went up, and obviously they both spent over 100 million, and they both signed absolute shite. In 12th, I had Watford, which was pretty high for them, but they were coming off a decent season relatively. They had decent players. Capoue and Decore had a fantastic season the year before, but they got more managers than points. And Pearson was sacked with 2 games to go, which was a bit stupid, but I can see why they did it. They were trying to prepare for the eventuality of maybe staying up, and they didn't want to just be staying up every year. But you needed Pearson to be in the seat for those last 2 games to try and give you a fighting chance of staying up. In 11th, I had Palace, who ended up finishing 14th. I like Palace. One of the Premier League teams I don't really dislike. I don't know, they're all right. A pretty stable season. Wilf the Milf up top. Zaha, it was average all season, didn't do much. But Ayew scored arguably one of the goals of the season, but his brother's a knobhead, so, it sort of cancels out, balances. In 10th, I had West Ham, who obviously made some good signings. On paper, they were good signings. Sebastian Haller was supposed to be a very good signing coming in. and we all expected the likes of Fornals, Anderson, and the likes to sort of do well this year. But obviously they finished 16th. Antonio turned into the second coming of Jesus, and that's saying something because I don't even believe in Jesus. But obviously he scored 4 against, I think it was Norwich. Obviously he wouldn't have done that if I hadn't have given him, private one-on-one lessons when he was at Forest. But, I won't charge him. But a lot of the signings they did sign were underperformed criminally because they did rely a lot on the players that were already at the club to sort of take them further. In 9th, I had Leicester, who obviously just missed out on Champions League and came 5th. Vardy is my favourite Premier League player by a decent distance. I do like Vardy. I have got a soft spot for Vardy. And I don't mind Leicester. As much as Leicester fans hate Forest fans, I don't mind Leicester. It's just lovely to see. We are still living, even though you lot are challenging for Champions League football, against Barcelona and we're playing Wickham, we still live rent-free in your head. See you next season, boys, when we go up. In 8th, Everton, they came 12th. It was disappointing for them as they were looking to sort of bridge the gap between the top 6. Calvert-Lewin had a decent season, but, when you've got Jordan Pickford in between the sticks making more mistakes than a 15-year-old Shamima Begum, there's not much you can really do about it. In 7th, I had the prediction that I actually got right, Wolves. I think everyone expected 7th for them, to be fair, at the start of the season. Adama Traore he's injecting something. I'll tell you that. That bloke is massive. But I do fancy Sammy Amiobi to send him into the stands when we go up. In 6th, I had Chelsea, who got 4th. Obviously, got Champions League football. Lampard's a fraud. Giroud is fit, but Kepa, to be fair, Kepa's had a season where he looks like Jan Oblak of Atletico Madrid, if Jan Oblak was blind. Obviously, there's got to be a movement in that. Kepa cannot be in goal for a team that wants to bridge the gap between the top 2. Simple as that. In 5th, I had United, who came 3rd. Obviously, Jesse Lingard back in the Champions League is a sight to see. In my opinion, Martial is criminally overrated. A French George Boyd, as I've called him in the past. And I think George Boyd might actually edge it on him, although he did fail an eye test at Forest, so, Rashford is good, and Greenwood's showing signs that he's going to be an absolute talent to be reckoned with in the future. Bruno is a penalty merchant, don't let anybody tell you different. Ben Watson's a better player, Viva la ginger shithouse. But yeah, Bruno is a decent player, to be fair to him, but he is a penalty merchant. In 4th, I had Arsenal, who came 8th. It showed a lack of sense when they let Claude go, obviously, late on in the season. I think he was a massive part of their success in recent times, obviously. Famous phrases in football, obviously, he had it. It's not just a game. And then obviously things like, I'm not the best manager in the world, but I say I'm in the top 1, and it's time to go. They are worldwide phrases known by everyone, and Claude was such a pioneer of modern football.
TV Claude, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked.
It's time to go!
It is a shame to see him released, obviously not even to another club. He's gone for free, and I'm assuming he's just going to sit into retirement now, which was a shame. But Arsenal are probably the equivalent to Forest in the Premier League, as in they are an absolute banter club. Forest are the only team that you could put in the Championship that will bottle a 5-goal swing on the last day of the season, and Arsenal are the only team that can beat both the champions of England and Europe and then lose to a small club in Birmingham. But yeah, I feel for Arsenal because I see they're just doing what we do on a slightly bigger and more embarrassing scale. But in 3rd, I had Spurs, obviously rivals to Arsenal, who also had a terrible season, who came 6th. But I think if they give Jose some backing and hope to see results from his signings, obviously Kane decided he fancied a holiday to Portugal after the restart, because I reckon I've seen Madeline McCann more times than him after the restart. He's been poor since the restart. I mean, so was the rest of the squad, to be fair. Obviously, it was a good result against Arsenal. But other than that, it lacked a lot. Defensive issues, as there are a lot of departures linked, and obviously a lot of them are confirmed in that Tottenham side. I think they need to get a new centre-back, a young centre-back to partner, probably Davison Sanchez. In 2nd, we had the eventual winners of the Premier League, Liverpool, which they only won the league because of VAR. I mean, it was very obvious to see the bias from the start of the season. Klopp, I don't know where he's got the money from, but he paid the refs a lot this year. I mean, you look at that team. How is that team winning the Premier League? I mean, you look at Mo Salah. He's the Egyptian version of Matt Ritchie. It's ridiculous. I mean, Roberto Firmino up top. I've seen... he's terrible. He's about as useless as a bullet-riddled bucket. He's poor. And it is a shame to see the Premier League, such a prestigious league, bow down to such blatant and obvious corruption. And Trent Alexander-Arnold decided he fancied being a goalkeeper against City. And I mean, apparently if you are Liverpool, you are allowed to have more than one goalkeeper on the pitch, which was interesting to see. To be fair, he made a few good stops, Trent. It was just a shame he used his hands for him. And in first, we have the humble Manchester City. I've got 2 words for City: robbed. I was absolutely outraged to see the corruption this year, and obviously it's such a shame to see such a community-based a club that's built on such good morals, and they don't just splurge cash. Obviously, City are a team that likes to invest, but they do it sensibly. Obviously, you look at the signings. Obviously, 30 million on Wilfred Boney was actually obviously such a good investment, and they shouldn't have been banned from European football at all. But it's obviously such good ethics and such good morals from a club like City. Not to throw cash at every problem, which Liverpool do, but they were bought down by the oil money tycoons of Liverpool, which was a shame to see, really, because I think every football fan can agree that City are a community club that are built on a lot more than just money. But that was it. That was me reacting to my predictions from obviously over a year ago now. Let me know if you're a Bournemouth fan and I can take the piss out on you. But if you stayed this long, you're probably criminally insane. But please like, subscribe. But I will see you all in the next video, where obviously if you stayed this long, you deserve a spoiler. I'm going to be rinsing the piss out of Bournemouth fans. See you in the next one, lads.